You are looking at the motor of my 1999 GMC Sierra with a 4.8 liter motor. I have a feeling that I have a pretty dirty throttle body that needs to be cleaned. And after earlier this year replacing the spark plugs, wires, air filter, smog pump, and several other different parts of the emission system, I was able to get the thing smogged, but I still have this little bit of a rough idle and a little bit of hesitation when the vehicle's cold. After doing some research on the internet, looking at some YouTube videos from other people and stuff like that, what I think my problem is that the throttle body is quite dirty, and cleaning it may improve the problems that I'm having. I'm going to bring you along as I do this job, removing, cleaning, and replacing. Hopefully it'll help you out if you have some issues with your truck or car, if you have the same motor in your car, and we'll go from there. Let's get started. First thing you need to do, according to the manual, I use the Haynes manual, is to remove the air intake and the resonator. You can see it attached there with a clamp right to the throttle body. That throttle body is that sort of that silver thing. You'll see here in a second. I'm going to point to the clamp. That you got to remove that clamp. It takes a 5/16 inch socket nut driver, or you can use a flat bladed screwdriver. And then I'm going to go ahead and pan over, and you're going to see three other clamps here in a second. As you move over here, you'll see three clamps. The one I'm pointing to is the one that's the easiest to take off. Then there's one right there, and there's one right there, and then there's the one to the left. Like I said, the one I'm pointing to right now, that's the one that's the easiest to take off. Then there's another attachment point. As I zoom in here, you'll be able to see it. It holds the radiator hose basically to the air intake and the resonator. There's that little nipple goes through a hole right there. You just sort of pull them apart. You pull the radiator hose to the right, and then everything comes apart. So we're going to go ahead and get that done, and then we'll get back to the video. The next thing it says to do in the manual is to remove the electrical connectors to the throttle body, and there's two of them. There's this one right here. I'm trying to get some light on it. It's a little dark in here. So you can see this one right here with my fingers on. This electrical connector comes off, and then there's one down here, and that one comes off. There's just the two that I can see, so I'm going to go ahead and remove those, and then we'll get on with it. Remove the two electrical connectors. You can see that they're different shapes. The one with the blue seal is sort of an oval, a little bit longer. The one to the right is more of a circular shape, and it's sort of a purple color. Not sure if it'll be the same on your vehicle, but they should at least be the same shapes. So it's hard to mix them up and get them plugged into the wrong spot. Next step in the process, according to the Haynes manual, is to remove all the different vacuum lines that might be attached to the throttle body. On my vehicle here, as you can see, it looks like there's only the one. So I'm going to grab my hose removal pliers and try and remove it. As I was doing this, I discovered that it was a little bit more stuck than I'd thought, so I needed to put the camera down to complete the operation so I could use my other hand. Yep, that's all I needed, is an extra hand to pull a little bit. So that's off, and we'll go on to the next thing. Next step is to remove the throttle cable. If you have a 1999, yours will probably look like this. If not, you may have a throttle body that's operated by what they call drive-by-wire, which is done by motors and electrical impulses rather than a manual cable like this is. Removing the cable from the throttle body is a simple process. I've already removed the cable in this shot. What I'm going to do is put it on and then take it back off again. That way you get to see both of them, not necessarily in the correct order, but you should be able to figure it out from what I did. If you pull this up, you can see the end of this, how it's shaped. It fits right in this hole, and then there's a little slot here where the cable goes in. All you have to do is just make sure that this goes all the way through, and then the cable's on. To take it off, you just pull it forward, push this out just a little teeny bit, pull this cable forward, push and pull, and the thing slips right out. Got a bit ahead of myself, didn't get any video removing the coolant hoses from the throttle body or removing the bolts and nuts that hold the throttle body onto the intake manifold. Since I didn't get any actual video of me removing the coolant lines, I figured what I'd do is take a couple of screenshots from some of the other video that I shot. On here, if you look at those two arrows, those are the attachment points, the nipples that the hose is attached to for the coolant. The one on the left came off fairly easy. Took me a couple of minutes, clamp came right off, and then the hose line pulled right off. The one on the right, it took me forever to get the clamp off, and then it took even longer to get the hose off of the nipple there because it was so stuck. I ended up using some penetrating oil, squirted it on there, and then sort of slowly pried it off with a screwdriver, and while I was sort of tugging on it with my hose pliers, finally came off. I bet you half an hour of working on that. This is a screenshot of the two coolant hoses that attach to the throttle body. The one on the left is the one that came off easy. The one on the right is the one that I had a hard time with. I used a spark plug, an old one, to plug up that line. You can see it sitting there. The line on the left, I used one of my woodworking clamps to clamp it shut so it wouldn't leak. Here's a picture of my woodworking clamp clamping off that one coolant line to the throttle body. This screenshot shows the three studs that the throttle body mounts on. The throttle body is held on by three 10mm nuts that, when you put it back together, are torqued to 97 inch-pounds. Now back to some more video. You can see this part right here, this gasket, it feels like it's in pretty good shape still. And anytime I take stuff apart, I like to just go ahead and replace the gasket if I can. That way you're pretty sure that you're not going to have a leak. Here's the old gasket removed compared to the new one, which is the actual AC Delco OEM replacement part. You can get these gaskets from other manufacturers. They may work as well, I don't know. I just prefer to use OEM stuff, especially when they're not that expensive. Here's the throttle body removed. This is looking at it from what you'd see if it was attached to the vehicle still. As you can see, it doesn't look too bad from this angle. Next shot, I'll show you what it looks like from behind. So here's the back side of the throttle body. You can see that it is quite dirty. I'm not sure if this thing had ever been cleaned in the 206,000 plus miles that were on the vehicle. So we'll get this all cleaned up here and show you what it looks like after. This is a cleaner that I use to clean my throttle body. As you can see, it's specifically made to clean throttle bodies. There's a lot of different things out there you could probably use that would probably clean it, but I figure why not use what is made specifically to clean a throttle body. I used an old toothbrush to do the scrubbing on the throttle body. Honestly, you don't want to use anything more abrasive or stiff than an old toothbrush like this. When I did this maintenance, I actually shot like 20 plus minutes of me cleaning this throttle body up. I needed both hands to do it. After I shot the video, I discovered that there wasn't a lot of good footage in there. So that's one of the reasons why I've done so many still shots and then overdubbed the video in here. Anyways, this is a picture of the clean throttle body. It took me about 20 plus minutes to get this thing clean, and as you can see in the picture, it looks completely different from that shot a few minutes ago that I showed you of the carbon encrusted backside of that butterfly and all the rest of the mating surfaces. With the throttle body clean, it's now time to reinstall it onto the truck. I'm going to show you in this next shot here a little bit of what I learned putting the throttle body gasket onto the intake manifold. When I put the gasket onto the intake manifold, onto the indent where it fits into, I shoved it in there real quick and figured out what the heck it's done. But as I looked at it a little closer, if you look at this shot right here where you see where my thumb is, it's sort of right next to it, to the right of it, it's bent a little bit. I thought I had it seated in there as far as it would go, but it wasn't necessarily done properly. So what I found out is you need to basically go the whole outside edge perimeter of that gasket wherever it's making contact with the intake manifold and push it in with your thumb or finger or whatever you want to do. Otherwise it'll sit proud a little bit, and it's possible that if you didn't get it in seated properly that you might have a leak there. So if you're putting a new gasket in, or if you took the old one out and are putting it back, just make sure that it's seated all the way into that indent on the intake manifold before you wrap everything up and put the throttle body back where it's supposed to be and tighten it down. Truck's back together. Installation went really smoothly, and it's just reverse of removal, so you should be able to take care of it if you were able to get it apart. Just a reminder, when you're putting the throttle body back on, the nuts, the 10mm nuts are tightened down to 97 inch-pounds. Here's a review. The truck is running really well right now after the repair or the maintenance on it. The rough idle and the hesitation on acceleration when it was cold seems to be fixed. It appears to have a lot more power, and hopefully it'll be getting a little bit better gas mileage than it used to. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Hope it's helpful to you, and good luck if you try it.